Hi everybody, it's RPG Grandma. Star Frontiers. I'm going to try to make these into small sections. We'll see how it goes. So, first of all, the art, action adventure. It screams action adventure, even though we got pastel colors here. And we got the hair, the 80s hair. Things are blowing up. They're getting out of their vehicle. This is the basic rules. This is the book that you're going to digest first. And so you turn the page, we got our table of contents, we got more action adventure, we got more aliens than what you saw on the cover. We got these other guys right here. Ooh, who are they? You know, this is not Star Trek, it's not Star Wars. So what's going on here? But it has that cinematic vibe. Well, turn the next page, you get a story with art. So let's talk about the story, because the story gives you setting information. In the story, you learn that there's an evil race called the Sathar, that they have operatives who are the also members of the other races, who are there spying and doing apparently bad things. You learn that the Vrusk have 8 limbs, and they have a faster reaction speed than humans, so they're quicker on the draw. They also have weird names. You learn that the cars in the game, they like hover and they're called skimmers. You learn that there's something called polycrete that is pretty tough stuff that they make walls and things out of. You learn that there's a monorail system. That's the public transport. You learn the metric system is used, that there's lasers and guns and something called a needler, which is also a weapon. There's you get an idea of some of the tech level that they're talking about with the big computer banks. Could you update your Star Frontiers tech? Of course you can. But when this was being made, you learn that the economy works on something called a credit, and that 100 credits is pretty significant. Each of the characters in this little story who catch the bad guy, they take him alive, by the way, gets 100 credits for their work. And you know that they're working for some organization or business actually called the Pan Galactic Corporation, PGC. You learn that the Yarzarians are a little gruff, a little grumpy, and based on the ads, they've got chili in the future and a used shuttle company. Little ads in the story. But you also got some unpleasantness too. Let's see. Can you guys see that? What the sign says? Well, it says no pets, but underneath it also says no Duralicites. And the Duralicites are the little funny blob guys right here. Which obviously the other patrons let the guy in. They're not saying, you know, no bro, you can't come with us. So clearly he's getting his alcohol anyway. And that, you know, they could go on vacation, this little group of adventurers, with their 100 credits each. So that's not bad. But, you know, they get offered another gig that's even more each, which is 200. So right out the gate, you get a bunch of information just in this one-page story. Now, the next page is the introduction. And in the introduction, they talk a little about role-playing. They basically say your characters can do everything that would be normal for them to do in this environment, like drive a skimmer, shoot lasers, you know, and they talk about what kind of game it is. You know, you're going to chase dangerous criminals, explore alien worlds, anything else you can think of. You're going to play your character. They talk about it being a cooperative game where there's it's not a win or loser kind of game. That this is a you know, a storyteller game, you know, and that the characters can be improved upon, become richer, more powerful, prove their abilities. They explain how the dice work, which I did in the last video, but dark die is the high die, and the low die is the light die, and you add them together. So if you rolled like a 5 and a 3, that's 53, because the dark die is the high number, that's the 5. And but if you rolled like the high number 3, the dark colored die, and then the light die was 5, that would be 35. And that double zeros is 100. They explain all that. They also explain that when you see 3D10, 4D10, 6D10, whatever, or even 2D10, what they're talking about is you're going to add the dice together. So, and it's giving you a range. So a 2D10 roll is 2 through 20. 3D10 is 3 through 30, and so on. And you're going to add them together. So if you rolled a 3 and a 5 in that scenario, it wouldn't be 35 or 53, depending on which, color was the numbers. It would be 8. So you add them together. Now, this game is different from D&D. It does not have alignments. It also has 8 abilities instead of the traditional 6 that everybody's familiar with. And they're paired together. So you have strength, stamina, dexterity, reaction speed, intuition, logic, and personality and leadership. Strength is strength. Stamina is your ability not to get sick, for your system to survive shock, how many wounds you can take, that sort of thing, before you die. Dexterity, how coordinated are you? If you don't have a good dexterity rating, you are going to be clumsy. Reaction speed, how fast can you do stuff? How fast are you on the draw? That was the other thing you find out. Vrusks are faster than humans. In that little story, they have a faster reaction speed. Intuition, that's your ability to make educated guesses, the gut feeling, take seemingly unrelated information and come to a conclusion. Whereas logic is exactly that. It is logic. It follows a line of thought. If this, then that. And you use these 2 different abilities to figure out things in the game. And personality, how easy are you to get along with versus how hard are you to get along with? A high personality score, people like you, you get along with others well. Low personality score, you are grumpy, gruff. So that's like your closest thing to giving you a clue how to play your character. Leadership, that is whether people are going to follow you or not. They're going to follow your orders, they're going to want to go with you into a dangerous situation or not. That is what leadership does. Now, your reaction speed determines your initiative modifier, which is important in combat. Then they go into the fact that you have 4 core races, which are your humans, who are your default race. But these humans were supposed to have evolved on another planet that's not Earth. But according to the research I've done, originally before the game was published and they decided to change this, the humans did come from Earth. And we'll get into how they could come from Earth but not come from Earth in another episode. And but they say they evolved on some planet closer to the core of the galaxy. Duralicites are rubbery blob guys that can create legs, as many legs and arms as they need, which they call pseudopods. And they are stronger than humans, but slower than humans. Vrusks look like large insects. They have 8 legs. They're called bugs. They love art, beauty, and music. Duralicites love philosophy and telling really bad jokes and puns. And your Zarians are light bone humanoids, furry manes around their necks. Their nickname's the monkeys, but they can glide because they have these